Morning, folks. It is a nice, breezy morning. I don't know, it's about 6 o'clock, and the bullfrogs are still doing their thing, but not as many as before daylight. So here I am, 8 days later, beside my mullein plant. And like I said before, mullein grows all over the place. It likes poor, gravelly soil, I guess. I'm at the way end of my garden where the snow gets piled up by the snowplow when they plow my driveway. But this is 8 days later, and this is how fast the mullein grows. Now, 8 days prior, I did a video on this, and this is a snapshot of how tall it was 8 days ago. So as you can see, it gets pretty tall pretty fast, and this should get well above my head. Now, it's already got a spike forming, and it's getting thinner. The lower leaves will be a whole lot bigger than the top leaves, and they're fuzzy, and right now they're wet from the dew. So in another week or so, I'll do another video here. Now, I've been doing little snippets here and little snippets as I do certain things, and so this video is going to be a compilation of a couple of 3 days worth of little short video snippets, and some may have sound, and I may talk, and some I may not. So sometimes I don't have time to do a video. Sometimes if the tripod is handy, I will just put the camera on it and talk or show what I'm doing. So who knows? I do know yesterday was a really rough day for me, and everything seemed to go wrong. I had very little patience. I knew I was tired, but I couldn't sleep. I had a lot on my mind, and it was just a very long day yesterday. But I'm going to bring you a little bit closer so you can hear me. So, I've already been out in the garden since just about daylight, folks, so I'm already dirty. But yesterday was just a really rough day all the way around, it seemed. But somebody made it better. A few people made it better. On the way home from work, I stopped into a local, well, it's about a half hour away, store, and I like to shop there. They have some pretty good deals, but they're getting a little more sparse. And even though I was there the same day the sale started, the tuna fish that was on sale was all sold out. A few other things were all sold out. They had pasta, 10 for 10, and it was mix and match. You could get spaghetti, anything from angel hair up to linguine, elbow macaroni, all different shapes of pasta, 10 for 10, but they were pretty well cleaned out, folks. So, but anyway, through the store, as I was taking a walk throughout the store, there was this older couple of ladies, and they had to have been in their mid-70s, if I were to guess. And it was obvious that one of the ladies was very hard of hearing, and the other lady she kept holding on to her hip and leaning on that side, so I think maybe she had a hip issue, and walking around was painful. But she leaned on the cart a lot, I think just to give her hip some relief. So they kept passing me in the aisle, and I kept passing them as we browsed, right? Well, I got out to my vehicle first, but not by far. And I had bought a bag of ice, and I was trying to, because I didn't bring a cooler, but I knew I was coming right home. So I had a sweat jacket in there. So I just wrapped the bag of ice in the jacket to keep it insulated a little bit. So I was doing that, and I heard, "Hey, hey!" And the haze kept getting louder and a little more frustrating, right? So I'm like, well, maybe they're talking to me. So I moved out from around my vehicle, and there's that lady with the hip issue was hollering about 6 cars up in the row to what turned out to be her sister-in-law. And the sister-in-law was just standing there with a hand on her hip and on the other one on the cart, and you could tell she was lost. She didn't know where to go. So she kept hollering, and her hip, the other lady's hip, was apparently too painful to walk up to her. So I finished covering my ice and closed the back of my vehicle, and I was going to see if I could be of any assistance. Well, this lady with the hip issue, her phone rang, and she answered it, and apparently it was her husband, I'm assuming. And apparently he was hard of hearing too, folks. So she's trying to holler to what happened to be her sister-in-law in the parking lot that was lost, and her husband, who was also hard of hearing, and she was hollering into her cell phone, "Your sister can't hear me. I said she couldn't hear me. She can't hear me." And she was getting flustered. She would take her phone and look at her phone and put it back up to her ear, and she would take it and she would holler some more. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go up and get this lady to at least go in the right direction, because by that time she was getting in the wrong vehicle, folks. So I went up and to get close to her, the way she had her cart, I just put my hand on her cart, and she thought I was taking her cart away from her, folks. She thought I was going to steal her cart and her food, and she started hollering at me, and this gentleman behind me, splitting a gut, folks. He said, "This is so entertaining." He said, "I'd stand right out here all day if this entertainment, if this was," he would stand out there all day and laugh. And I kind of chuckled, but I'm like, well, how come you're not offering to help, right? So I tried to explain to the lady that, in pointing to her sister-in-law, that her sister-in-law was trying to get her attention, and she was putting her groceries in the back seat of somebody else's vehicle, folks. So, and every time I tried to explain it a different way so she understood, I had to say it louder and louder and a little more slowly, because she was obviously confused, folks. So I just backed up and did this, and finally the lady with the hip issue came over and grabbed her cart and yanked it and was hauling the cart. That lady with the bad hip was just fed up all the way around, folks. And she said, "Pardon my language, Jesus Christ, that's not even your cart. That's not even your cart." So she was shaking her head, she was sputtering, the other lady was like all confused. So I felt really bad for both of them, folks. But it gave me quite a bit of entertainment, and it kind of got me out of my little impatient funk for the day, and it just took my mind off from a few things. And so that the rest of the day was lightening up a little bit. So I guess I just needed that laugh. So anyway, this is getting longer than I wanted it to. I'll add some snippets here and there, and I'll post a video later. But I'm already dirty, folks, so I'm sure by the time I get to post another one, I'll be really dirty. But that's part of the garden, and I finally got some carburetor cleaner. And I weren't going to make a special trip for carburetor cleaner, folks, so I just waited until I was in that area and to get some. So it's been a couple of weeks, but I know where that carburetor hole, if you want, that's what I call it. I'm sure it has a name. Is plugged. The rest of them are free, but that particular one is plugged, all gunked up. So I just need to degunk it with carb cleaner, and then that weed whacker should start, right? Because I really need to cut brush here. Brush grows really, really, really tall, really fast. Poplar, as we call popple here, honest to God, it could grow a foot a month, easy. So, and I know I've got some of that, and I've got some birch, and I've got some cherry. That I just want to keep it clear down there. So I've got a lot of brush cutting. So if I can get that weed whacker to start, I'll definitely be weed whacking today or tomorrow or both days. So I guess that's it, folks. Enjoy the skits. So my 8 cubic wheelbarrow, the tray part, that I have been using for years and years and years, that I got from cousin Shay, it finally cracked, and it was so old that it was brittle. So when I hauled anything, it started getting holes in it. So I used it for as long as I could, and along the way, because the frame was still good, so along the way, I picked up this tray here, this one, and it's not as big. It had been used for quite a while, then it was discarded, so I salvaged it. And I think this one is probably 6 cubic. I don't know. It's got to be close. So, but while I was using my 8 cubic wheelbarrow, I don't know, I call it this part here, became warped because I'm awful abusive to them. I haul wood with it and all kinds of stuff. So I found the parts to another discarded wheelbarrow. So I took 3 wheelbarrows and made it into one. Now, the hardest part was two bolts were frozen. I took WD-40, and I gave it some time, and I worked it, but I don't know what you call these screws here. I don't know if someone said they're carriage bolts. I don't know, but those are hard because you take the nut off the back, and I couldn't hold that still. So when I would turn the nut, that would turn as well. So I took a saw and I just cut them. So I had to cut 2 bolts. So all in all, this probably took maybe an hour to take 3 wheelbarrows and make it into one. So on we go, onward and forward. That is why we don't throw good parts away. We hang on to them, or we salvage them when we can for spare parts, right? So I'm pretty pleased with this. Even though it's a 6 cubic instead of an 8 cubic, this is just fine, because I tend to round over the 8 cubic, then I struggle to move it because I don't know any better to, put less in it. If it holds that much, I'm going to put that much in it and try to get more. So this is going to be easier for my body anyway, but now I have a working wheelbarrow, and I am going to put it to use. Okay, so I got my red noodle beans that I'm going to plant. I've got a half cut off plastic black barrel that I had. I weren't sure what I was going to plant in it, and then I got the noodles. So what I've got here is compost. It has a combination of aged chicken litter and bathroom compost, folks. So it's nice and aged. It is very safe, folks, to use bathroom compost, if it's been composted correctly, and mine has. It got up to temperature for so long. I even let it age an extra year. So I feel confident that this soil here is perfectly safe, no different than horse manure, cow manure, rabbit manure, goat manure, chicken manure. It's no different. It's been cured, and it's 100% safe. But look how beautiful it is. It's just so beautiful. And for my birthday, Shay got me 2 large grow bags and a box of bamboo stakes. So I've got, I've got 6 bamboo stakes stuck in here, and I've got 6 bean seeds. And I do realize, I did some research, that the red noodle beans can grow up to 8 to 12 feet tall. So what I will do is I will zip tie bamboo stakes on top of these, overlap them so they're nice and sturdy, and that'll give me at least 6 more feet to grow. So that ought to be plenty. Red noodle beans, I just researched, takes 90 days, so I'm a little bit late. But that soil is nice and warm, it's nice and moist, and it's nice and nutritious. And my bean seed have been soaking overnight. So what I am going to do, it says to plant them 3/4 of an inch thick, inch deep. So I'll plant that one over here. And around each pole. And we will monitor these beans because they are right beside the mullein plant. This gets full sun here, and like I said, it's in full sun and in really good soil. So we will keep an eye on these, and I will water them in, and we will go from there, folks. So we can monitor these growing with the mullein. But they say they sprout really fast. So we will see what is happening with that. And what I will do is I will stop the camera and I will back it out so you can see the whole unit together.